Master Skywalker. There are too many of them. What are we going to do?
Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel. If this is your first time, I'm going to talk today about book series. So, a story told over a whole load of books. And I'm starting with a gift. So, I wanted to publicly thank my friend, who wouldn't want to be named, but she gave me this, which I'm really chuffed about. I'm very excited to read it. Brandon Sanderson, The Sunlit Man. This is one of his Kickstarter secret project novels. And it's a standalone novel, so I don't have to read anything else. But this prompted me to think about how I'd abandoned the Mistborn trilogy. And also, that spun off into other things. And I'm like, oh, actually, there's quite a lot here that I either need to finish or finish rereading in one case. So I thought I'd talk about it. And you can tell me whether or not some things are more important than others. Like, oh, why haven't you read this yet? Or whatever. Or you could just send me a message going, yeah, I'm with you. I'll do the same sort of thing. But so many times, I haven't finished the series I should have done. So I really look forward to reading this. This is not part of a series. Well, it's part of a shared universe, but they're separate stories. So it's not part of a series, so you don't have to panic about that. But but she said this is one of the good ones of the secret project. So that's really cool. So I really am very grateful to have that. But then it got me thinking about this. Now, I read this 2 years and 9 months ago. 2 years, nearly 3 years ago. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was the first thing I read by him. And I really, really liked it. I talked about it on the channel. It was part of the February fantasy month that the Bookish Bryants started. And I will be continuing to read fantasy in February as well as a tribute to Scott. So if every year from now on, February is going to be fantasy month. But anyway, I read this as part of that event, and I really loved it. Really, really loved it. I was saying in the video where I talked about this book, I said that I had read another book. It was The Lost World by Arthur Conan Doyle. It took me a week to read that, and it's really short. And this is 700 pages, and it took me a week to read this. I just fled through it because I was really enjoying it. It's a really easy, fun, gripping, compelling read, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, like massive praise for this. And you would think that if I loved it that much, I would have jumped straight into the second book. Well, I jumped straight into buying the second book and buying the third book so that I had the whole trilogy. So I own the whole trilogy. But 2 years and 9 months later, I haven't read the second book yet, which is crazy. Oh, sorry, that one. That's the second book, The Well of Ascension. The Well of Ascension is the second book. So I have it. I bought it straight away. And I haven't read it yet, which is really dinny. So, yeah, this is the problem. Because I've kind of forgotten a lot of what happens in the first book as well. So do I reread the first book? Do I read a synopsis? I don't know yet. But it is a problem. Because that's not the only one. It's probably the most extreme one because I loved The Final Empire so much. But this also happened with Joe Abercrombie. So I read The Blade itself a couple of months after that. So again, this is over 2 years ago I read this. And to be fair, I didn't love it. I think it won me over at the end. So I don't know if you remember me talking about this on the channel. But because the whole book pretty much is just a setup, it massively took a while to get going. I like the characterization. I like the style of it. But, you know, so I like the way it's written. But I do feel like he could have shortened all that and made it much more of a, given it much more of a plot. So anyway, it did win me over. So I wanted to read the rest of them. So I promptly, very quickly bought the other two books. Right. So I think that's the second one. Last Argument of Kings. And then I think that's the third one. Does it say on the cover? Before They Are Hanged is the third one, I think. Oh no, looks like it's the other way around. That's the second one, and that's the third one. But I bought the two and the second and the third book straight away, and just like the Brandon Sanderson books, I didn't read them. So that's slightly more understandable because I didn't love the first book. I liked it, and I wanted to read the other two, but the Brandon Sanderson example was crazy because I really loved it. So I thought, that's a little bit of a habit, really, and it might be something that people can resonate with in general, because then I started thinking about The Expanse. So I've actually got, I'm not getting all these books out, but I've actually got the first 5 books of The Expanse, and I've only read the first one. So I should have read this one by now, number 2. And I love the first one. It's so good. When I'd read that, that was definitely one of the best books I'd read for a while. Again, that was about 2 years ago. So what is going on? I should have read the second one. I think I bought this new straight away because I thought I was going to read it straight away. I think I bought some of the others second hand, but what's that about? I haven't started this either. And the first book of The Expanse was so good, so good. And then there's the example with this occult detective stuff. So the Jim Butcher's Dresden Files. I read the first 2, so this is the third one. This is the one I'm on. This is slightly more understandable because I like them, but I don't love them. So I think I'm always going to take a while, unless it really picks up. I'm going to take a while to get through them all, but I will read them all because I like the idea. Although I've also put a pause on that. I've got about 8 or 9 of the books, but I put a pause on it because I wanted to finish these ones, the Rivers of London books, which are very similar. They're like English versions of the Dresden Files. So it's a policeman who's a wizard dealing with occult things happening in London by the River Thames. Hence why the River Thames is all over the covers and stuff. So I've got these to read. I've read 4 of them, I think I've read 4 of them. So there's more to read, but when I've finished those, I'll go back to these. But again, more book series that I need to finish that I haven't finished yet. So that's a problem. I was really enjoying these. I mean, out of the 2, I prefer these to the Dresden Files. But again, I've heard this gets like crazy good later on. Although if it gets crazy good because of an increase in the law, that's not really my kind of thing necessarily. So I don't know if I'd relate to that as much. But yeah, that's a problem as well. And then a couple of other examples. So the X Hero series by Peter Clines. This is just a bit of fun. This is book 4. So I've read the other 3, and there's 5 in the series. I could have easily read this 4th one. I've had this a while. I've had this, again, about 3 years. And I could have easily read the 4th one. This series is basically superheroes fighting zombies. It's almost like comic book stuff put in normal novel form, But this is book 4. And I did enjoy the first 3. So... again, see, you leave it too long and you forget who the characters are and that kind of thing, So, I know, shout out to the man of the hat who reads, because he's read these and he's got them behind his shelves in the videos as well. So, that's another series I haven't finished. This is going to become a series. So at the moment, this is only 2 books, but I think there's a third one coming out. No, I think the third one might be out. I think it might be a trilogy already, but... this is the second book, and I loved the first book. I really loved the first book. So the first book was Semiosis by Sue Burke, and it was really good. And then I bought Interference by Sue Burke, because I thought, well, the first one was fantastic. And I've had this ages, but I haven't read it yet. So it's another one that I need to get back to, and I'm sure it's really good. The first one was so good. I definitely recommend Semiosis by Sue Burke. If you don't know it, or you've seen it around, but... haven't thought about getting it. It really is a fantastic book. And then a couple of other things as well. So this is a little bit more understandable because it's a big series, but I do like this series. So this is the first book in the Chronicles of St. Mary's, just one damn thing after another. I've mentioned this series a few times on the channel, and I'm on book 8. So somewhere, this is the first book, but somewhere is the 8th book, which is the next one I need to read. There's about 12, I think, and then there's another series that she's written which is tied to it, which is all about the time police. And I've got a couple of those as well. But this is really good. I would say though that I couldn't recommend it to everybody because there's a bit of an element of YA about it. So if you're put off by that, then you might be put off by the series. And it is just fun, you know. She does do a lot of historical research because they have to go back in time. They're a university, they're history students that go back in time to witness real events so they can get the history correct and all that kind of thing, and things go wrong. So she does do a lot of history research in it, and I think if you're into that, you'll enjoy that element of it. But I do like the series a lot. So yeah, but I'm on book 8, so again, I need to carry on reading those. But I have clearly gone further through that series than I have most of the series that I'm talking about here. And then this is a reread, and a recent reread. So this isn't a big deal really, but I thought I'd mention it because this is another thing that I'm juggling all the time. And that's the Fritz Lieber's Swords books. So there's 7 of those, and these were absolutely crucial when I was a teenager. One of the first things I read, and I absolutely loved them. And I really enjoyed rereading the first one again, Swords Against Deviltry. Really enjoyed it. And this is Swords Against Death. This would actually be a 3rd time because I read it like in my 20s as well. I read the whole series in my 20s again. So I really do like them. So this is the 2nd book, Swords Against Death. And again, I read that much. And then, look, it's got my own bookmark in it. But I read that much and then realised I didn't have to keep going because they're short stories, basically. So and then there was like a book event that started. This was like in the middle of the year. But I do love that series. But again, it's another one I'm juggling. So there's all these different series that I'm juggling. And I really do go back to my original point. I just shuffle the books around and again. I really do need to read the follow-up books to this. And obviously the second one is The Well of Ascension, because this was so good. It really was fantastic. It's the first book he wrote, so I'm sure there's all sorts of elements of plot development and complex characters and stuff that he's put in his later books, but this was brilliant. I really, really enjoyed it. So there you go. Right, so let me know what you think about all of those different series, or maybe you can relate to this. Shout out to Jenny Parks, because she's reading, I think, 175 different book series at the moment, which is crazy. So it's not as bad as that. But I am frustrated because I really loved that first Brandon Sanderson book. But you can see that it's a little bit of a trend, a bit of a habit. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Stay curious.
Paint me a picture